Hey everybody, Aliside here. Grab yourself a beer and let's talk some video games. Alright, so it was an extremely slow news week this week, so I thought I could do something a little bit different. And since you guys don't really know much about me, I decided I should maybe tell you a little bit of my gaming pedigree since, I talk about games and you might be wondering, well, who the hell is this guy to be talking about this stuff? So I thought I would give you a little bit of my background and where I started, where I came from, what I play, what I'm currently playing. So we'll start from the beginning. At the ripe age of 3, I can't do the whole video like that. At the ripe age of like 2 or 3, my grandparents introduced me to the NES. That was my first system, the first thing that I ever touched or played, and I started with Super Mario Bros. 3, which remains to this day my most favorite game of all time. I can play that game end to end an infinite number of times and never get bored with it. Especially since I always managed to find something new that I didn't know about from previous playthroughs. So I'm still finding things that I didn't know were actually in that game. That's how much I love it. I still sit down and play that thing when I don't have anything else to do, or play for that matter. So after the formative NES years, we'll call them, I moved on to the Super Nintendo, which opened my eyes to multiplayer gaming because I had a buddy that lived a couple doors down, and we would always swap and share games and then sit down and play them with one another. And I believe my first multiplayer game was Paperboy, which is impossibly hard and extremely frustrating, so I think that one went out the door pretty quickly, and we swapped in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Turtles in Time, which also happened to be the first game that I completed from start to finish, and it was with his help. I was Donatello and I believe he was Leonardo, if that matters at all to you. I was a very lucky kid in that I didn't really have to decide between Nintendo and Sega at that point in time, so I actually had both a Super Nintendo and a Sega Genesis. So I played all sorts of games, anything you could think of I tried to get my hands on. I was a huge Sonic the Hedgehog fan. I played the crap out of all 3 of those games, namely the 3rd one. And then there was Mega Man. Oh man, Mega Man X. I love that game. Love, love, love. If you couldn't tell, I did a critical hit review on X2. Just go watch it. I love all of those games. I played X1 through 6 or wherever the hell they ended up with it. Love all of them. So possibly my greatest regret as a gamer, I did not play through A Link to the Past because the beginning of it was boring to me and I couldn't read too well at that point in time. So I traded it in for another Mario game. So now that we're through my formative years, we get into the more complicated 3D era with like the N64, the PlayStation. I actually did own a Dreamcast also. I was a very lucky kid. And this brought about my love of RPGs. And it was not, in fact, Final Fantasy VII that did it. It was actually a Super Nintendo game, Super Mario RPG, Legend of the Seven Stars. That was my first RPG, and that was my whole reason that I probably wasted weeks of my life sitting in front of a television playing through interactive stories. I loved it. I'm pretty sure I finished that game in probably 2 weeks because I just couldn't put it down. And since then, I've made it a tradition of playing through that game at least once every summer, just to go back and visit Mushroom Kingdom and all those other wonderful locations that Square was kind enough to help Nintendo with at the time. But following Mario RPG, I did eventually play Final Fantasy VII, and it was probably because of that amazing cinematic that I'm sure you saw when you were also a kid, playing in every video game store anywhere, with Cloud with his massive sword and his motorcycle approaching Midgar City, and just blew my mind. I wanted every single part of that. I wanted that. I wanted to do that. I wanted to play that. And I actually had no idea that it was an RPG, so just building the fire underneath that passion right there. And yeah, this point in time in my life was just huge for RPGs. After Final Fantasy VII, I went on to Final Fantasy VIII, got completely obsessed with that one. I went and played every side quest, mission, what have you, got all the ultimate weapons, all the components. I drew every possible magic. And actually, I really enjoyed Final Fantasy VIII too, so I don't know why people hate that so much. Following all that came Halo, which really delved into my love for multiplayer games, because I had a buddy that lived directly across the street, and every day following school we would just plop down in my basement and play through the campaign, which is probably one of the better memories that I have of multiplayer gaming in general, just because you have somebody there sitting with you and playing through it and experiencing everything right along with you. Following Halo, not much happened on the Xbox from there, so we'll just skip all that. And then I got into some PC gaming. We never really had a hot rod of a PC, so I couldn't really get into it that much, but the year that Warcraft 3 was released, we invested in a new computer, so I was able to actually enjoy that one. And I played the crap out of that game. I loved every minute of it. Played through the Frozen Throne also. And then came WoW. I don't think I have to go into anything about WoW. I played since vanilla. I played on and off for 5 or 6 years. I was on Dragon Blight. If anybody was familiar with that server, a lot of shit went down over there. Yeah, that almost brings us up to present day. I think you guys have a good idea of what I've been playing recently. I've been playing Persona 4 Golden a lot. I just got Project X Zone, which is in my other unboxing video. And yeah, so I think I should probably wrap it up there, just so I don't bore the crap out of you with my history. But thank you for watching. I do appreciate it. Hopefully next week we have something out of the gaming industry to talk about. As I said, not much really took place this week. I think the biggest update that I saw was that Microsoft had like a free shirt to give away for your avatar or some bullshit like that. So I didn't want to bore you with that. I decided instead to bore you with me. Hopefully you enjoyed it, and I think that should about do it. So until next time, I'm Aliside. Cheers everybody. I'll talk to you next week.